Hey guys, Justin Coffin for the 330 Sports Show. Joining me today, we have a special guest, Jessica Krauser. Jess and I kind of go way back. Jess and I are 2000 BHS graduates. So I've known Jess for a while, and she has given us the opportunity to share her story a little bit. So Jess, first of all, welcome, and tell us a little bit about what you're going through, and then we'll get into your fundraiser that's coming up.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and for all of your support. I'm going to tell our age, so hopefully you don't mind that.
I don't. Well, I'm older than you, so go for it.
Oh, all right. So I'm not 40 yet. I'm still 39. But 2 years ago, at the age of 37, I was diagnosed with it's called young onset Parkinson's disease. It's called that just because normally Parkinson's patients are over the age of 50 or 60. It was just symptoms that I've noticed that I had, and being my own advocate and getting myself to doctors and to the right neurologist, they finally diagnosed me with young onset Parkinson's. But what really the journey that I've been taking is around educating people, because when I was first diagnosed, I was actually relieved. I had issues for like 2 years and I didn't know what it was. I was going to see just random doctors. My foot hurt, so I went to see, had my foot x-rayed and other things like that. So I checked all the boxes, so I knew what was coming. My husband, on the other hand, was devastated. And I felt bad because I didn't understand why, but I was doing so much research on my own to try and understand what was going on. And he didn't up until that point. So all he thought about was grandparents or friends' parents that have Parkinson's, and they're older and they're hunched over, they struggle, they need wheelchairs. And, he immediately thought, oh my gosh, our life, what we thought was going to be, is completely different. And so I urged him to read the things I was reading on young onset Parkinson's and Parkinson's in general. If people take a hold of what they have and learn that exercise is key, you can do a lot more with your life for a lot longer if you take care of yourself. So that brought us to, I had 2 years of having my own ups and downs. It hasn't been, rosy the whole time.
Sure.
But this year, my friends, a couple of my friends got together because they're like, we wanted to do something for you. And they're like, we don't know what or how or what that, what do you do for somebody in a situation like this? But they know I love to speak. I love to educate, make people aware of things. So they wanted to give me a louder voice. And so they started what they called the 5K for JK. I actually have my shirt on. I'll show you. See, 5K for JK.
Very nice. Very
for
nice.
Parkinson's awareness. And so they started that. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Background.
I know. So they started that for me, and it has taken on a life of its own. I think we have almost 400 people registered. We've raised around $65,000 and growing for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And it's just been amazing. And so now I'm having the ability to do things like this and other interviews to bring awareness. But again, not just awareness around the disease itself, but awareness for what can you do for yourself today to live a better life.
Absolutely. So, you are really preaching the education of Parkinson's. And, me, I'm very novice. I know the basics. Obviously, we all think of Michael J. Fox, especially he was diagnosed as a younger person. But tell us a little bit. You had mentioned a couple years ago, you started to see some symptoms. How did you, after reading about this, how did you realize, this might be what I have?
So it didn't click with me until I saw one of my doctors. So I first started and I had tremors. So even right now, I don't tremor that bad. But I do it right now because I'm a little anxious and nervous just being on a Zoom right now. So even at meetings at work, that's how I get. So any type of tension or feeling you get, I didn't realize it though at the time. So I just recognized my hand would shake. My primary care physician was like, well, it could just be an essential tremor. Like a lot of people actually have essential tremor. It's benign and it's not much you can do.
Okay.
She's like, if it becomes bothersome, like affecting your work or your day-to-day life, you can go see a neurologist. Well, at that time I was 35. I'm like, I'm not going to see a neurologist, like seriously. I'm like, my hand's just shaking. So I waited till the following year and I did a half marathon with my sister, Trisha. Her and her husband do all these marathons. So I did a half with her. It's the first and last one I'll ever do. But then from there, my foot and my leg was cramping all the time. And I remember having my husband like constantly like massaging my calf because I would have a knot. And I mean, I would be in tears because he would be trying to get it out. And again, I just thought because I was doing this workout and running and I'd never done that before. But again, I got my foot checked out. And then I went to go see my gynecologist, which she's the one that delivered my twins 11 years ago. So at the time, I'm like, she knows me better than anybody. And I was there for just a yearly checkup. And she's like, why are you shaking? And I'm like, well, it's cold in here. And, I don't know, I shake. And she's like, do you really? Yeah. And she's like, did you talk to your doctor? And I was like, yeah, but it was last year. And she said, it's just an essential tremor. And she kept looking at me and she's like, that's a little bit more than an essential tremor. She's like, I want you to go talk to somebody. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I'm going to give you some names. So she gave me names to a couple neurologists. And so I was able to get in a couple months later to just a primary neurologist.
Sure.
And he did some assessments and we did a EMG where they like stick needles in the side that's affected and they shock you a little bit. It really wasn't very fun.
Yeah.
And did an MRI and everything checked out fine. And it wasn't until that time, so in early 2019, where I started noticing things and other people started. So my mom mentioned one time, she's like, why aren't you using your arm? Like, why aren't you using your right arm when you're cooking? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I can move it all around, but I wasn't, I was holding it. And that's like one of the signs, like you hold your arm and you don't swing it. And then I wasn't using the mouse on my computer. I was using like the middle pad part because I couldn't get my hand to shake that way. It's very rigid. So I remember my husband was at a national sales meeting for a week. And so I was by myself with the kids. So they'd go to bed and I'd start doing research and I diagnosed myself. I'm like, this is the last thing you're supposed to do. But I'm like, I have like every single thing here. So I went to my follow-up appointment with my neurologist and told him all the symptoms I've been feeling. I didn't tell him what I thought it was. And he's like, everything you say sounds like Parkinson's. He's like, but in clinic test, he's like, I just don't see it.
Sure.
So he's like, take medication and, or you can go see a movement specialist. I'm like, let's go see that specialist. Mm-hmm. So I saw Dr. Malone. She's in Columbus at Ohio Health. And within the hour that I was there, she took my journal, read all my notes, watched me walk around, do the different assessments, and she diagnosed me right there.
Interesting. So do you notice, obviously, since you have been diagnosed, and I see on Facebook and, I've talked to you a little bit, but you've become this workout crazy woman.
Oh, yeah.
So explain how that, from what you understand, helps your condition.
Well, I hated working out. Like I never worked out really before. I mean, I would every once in a while, like in high school, but I'm probably in the best shape of my life in my late 30s, which is great, but it took Parkinson's to get me there. But one of the things my first original neurologist, when he said, you're probably just stressed and anxious. I'm like, really, I'm not. Like, he's like, exercise is great for that. So I'm like, fine. So I started exercising then. And then it was 6 months later when I saw the movement specialist. And she said, after she diagnosed me, she's like, the best thing you can do for yourself right away is to exercise. She's like, exercise is known. there's no clinical proof of it because it's difficult, I guess, to do, but it's known to slow the progression. Because when you think about it, Parkinson's, it's a disease, a disorder with your movement. So you should keep moving to get things going. So I started doing my research, and there's actually a local gym in town, which I'm thrilled about because not many people have that. It's called PD Next Steps, and Melissa Carlson is the owner, and she's our trainer, and we have Parkinson's classes every day. So I started exercising with them. You know, I walk in the door and I'm all bubbly, and they're like, "Who are you?" They're like, "Are you a new trainer, instructor?" I'm like, "No, I have Parkinson's too." And they're like, "Wow." So they're a wonderful bunch of people, great community. So we exercise every day, and it's retrain our brain, because with Parkinson's, you lose dopamine, and everybody actually loses dopamine as you age. A neurologist actually told me before, he's like, we all lived until we were 100, 150. Everybody would have Parkinson's because you just lose dopamine as you age. I'm just losing mine I lost it as much at a faster rate. But dopamine affects your movements and affects your mood. It affects your cognition, lots of things. But yeah, so exercise has been key, you know, for the depression and the anxiety we feel, but also for the movements. And it's, again, retraining our brain of picking up our leg, swinging your arm, making big movements, and making sure your body's doing it so that if you do ever get caught up and you're having to do something quickly, hopefully your retrained neurons will get you there.
It's very, very interesting. And, you know, again, I'm not someone that knows a whole lot about this disease. So, you know, you're teaching me as we're just talking here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make awareness to this. So do they have any idea why this happens, where it comes from, or is it just luck of the draw?
It's kind of like a little bit of both. So they don't really know. There's, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard of gene therapy for other diseases and
Sure.
things that specialized drugs that you can get. But the thing with Parkinson's is there can be, I think, up to like 20 or 25 different genes that could be affected, which is why it makes it so difficult for them to figure out how did I get it compared to somebody else.
Sure.
A lot of times they're saying like like when you spray your lawn with like pesticides, like that if people live near farms, that's shown to have it. But I did not live near a farm. It can also be hereditary, but I don't have anybody in my family that I'm aware of that has it. So it could just be luck of the draw. Like I was just born with a certain mutated gene or whatever that got me to where I am. So that's what makes it really difficult for them to find a cure. So we have medicine that we can help manage our symptoms, but then we're also balancing side effects. And then there's surgery. I actually just sat through a webinar yesterday of a neurosurgeon talking about deep brain stimulation. And he's like, it's really not that bad. I'm like, brain surgery.
It sounds scary.
Like, yeah, but he's like, you know, you're in and out, but you know, it's for people, you know, it's something I could possibly do in a few years, depending on my severity, but it can take you back. He's like, it could take you back to like 7 to 10 years prior. You know, so if you are having tremors a lot, and I know a guy who has this DBS surgery, and he'll shake and then he'll turn his DBS button on, and like all of a sudden he's like this, and it's stable. It's incredible. So, you know, just things like that I love learning about, you know, being in the pharma industry, my husband's in the medical industry. It's like just learning about all these great innovations that there might be something to come. But at the same time, again, that's why we donate to Michael J. Fox Foundation to find a cure for research, or for research to find a cure. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's not happening overnight. So what can I do for myself right now? Because like my neurologist always has to remind my husband, she's like, honey, this is degenerative. Like, this is not going to get better, which I always feel bad when she says that to him. But it's like, you have to remind people, like, this is how I am right now, and I don't know what I'm going to be like next year, 10 years.
Sure.
So.
Oh, you say that, but to me, you have the best attitude, and you're one of the most positive people that I probably can think of. So
Thanks.
what you're doing right now, just keep it up, because looking at some of the stats, I just did some basic research, but about 10 million people worldwide have some sort of Parkinson's, and 60,000 Americans each year are diagnosed with Parkinson's. So it's not something that, like cancer, that usually someone that has it directly that might be related to you. But so this is not as common, but it affects people, like you said, degeneratively, and you bringing awareness to this is fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about your 5K and when that's coming up. I'm actually going to share my screen real quick.
Sure.
I have the website up right now.
Okay.
And then you can just sort of explain what this is all about, where it's at, and we're actually doing a local event here in Youngstown as well as Columbus. So tell us about that.
So the 5K for JK, like I said, it's really just around bringing awareness to Parkinson's. So bringing people together, and first making people not feel so scared. Even my kids, like they think about it, but it doesn't even bother them anymore. They're like, yeah, she shakes, she's fine. My kids are like, is there going to be like news people there? Like, maybe I'll get on the news and I can show. I'm like, what? This is not about you. But it's one of those things that's like, I want to raise awareness even at this event to lessen the fear that people have, and just show them, just through exercise, just get up every day, walk around, do something with your body. You can help yourself tremendously. I've seen it happen at the gym where, people can only raise their arm like this. And after they've come to the gym for, a number of months, they can raise their arm fully straight. And it's amazing because they're moving. So I really want this walk to bring down the fear that people have, because it is fear of the unknown. But nobody knows what's going to happen to them. Sure. But at the end of the day, I think I remember writing it to myself in a journal. I was like, so basically what my doctor told me is take medication, which a lot of people do, exercise, and eat healthy. I'm like, shouldn't we all be doing that?
Right.
So it's like just living a healthy life, healthy, active life to keep going. So the event is going to be on October 3rd on a Sunday in Powell, Ohio. So it's actually in my neighborhood, which is great. And we're going to have a member from the Michael J. Fox Foundation come down, and she's going to share what they do with this money, which it goes to research to various pharma and medical companies, but talk about the success that they've had there. There are going to be just a couple of fun things for the kids to do, but really just walk and have the community. And it's a lot of family, a lot of friends. I have friends from college that are flying in, and all my friends, the LOD from Youngstown, they'll all be there. So I'm really excited for that. There are a lot of people in Youngstown that aren't able to make the trip. So a couple of my mom's friends are getting together, and they're doing a walk at the hike and bike trail. So it's not like an official walk, but they're getting together. Anybody who wants to do it at the same time at 2:00 at the hike and bike trail in Mill Creek Park. So if anybody wants to join from Y-Town, they're doing that there.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. And again, your positivity, your attitude is what makes this great, because I think a lot of people, like you said, you're trying to explain to people, don't be scared, but do the right things to help you, to help you improve, to help you get better. Like you said, like the guy, for example, that couldn't lift his arm, and then, eating right, going to the gym, that helps. So one thing, if you can, I guess it's hard to say this, but if you could tell someone that might be diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's, what would be your message to that person?
It would be, don't wait, don't sit around. I was actually on a different webinar last night for YOPD, and there's this guy, Jimmy Choi, who is very well known within the young onset Parkinson's group, and he's had it, I believe, for over 20 years. And so many people were asking him questions, and he said the same thing. He's like, I waited to tell people. I hid it. I didn't want to deal with it until there came a point that he had to. And I was the opposite, and I never really thought about it. That's just who I am, but that it's not the norm, but it should be. I told work right away. I told my family right away. I told my friends. I told my neighbors, and then I just got right into exercising. And there are so many people that I know that were diagnosed that they're like, I didn't even tell my family until for 10 years, let alone, the world.
Sure.
But once you open that up, again, it's just because people are like, I don't want them to look at me differently. I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Like, people are going to look if they're going to look if they're going to look, but there's nothing really to look at all the time. So it's just to be open, having your caregivers. I don't know if you saw that video I just posted last night about caregivers and my mom and my husband, Derek. Like, if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would be as strong as to keep going and doing what I'm doing, but you need that support, and people want to help. So I was never one to say like, yeah, please help me. But now I'm like, who cares? You can't go in this world on your own.
That's a great message. And you have a great home base. You have a great family. You have a great group of friends, and we're all here to support you. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to share this. And you have an open mic here if you ever need it. We'd love to share more information. So people that tell them real quick again when the 5K is.
So October 3rd, Sunday in Powell, Ohio at 2:00. The walk starts at 2. The festivities will start at 12:30. Or in Youngstown, same date, October 3rd, 2:00 at the Hike and Bike Trail in Mill Creek.
Very good. Very good. So please check that out. And also, Jess, could you share the website if anyone wants to check out and, get some more information?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just www.5kforjk.org. So 5K for JK.
And if people can't make either walk and maybe want to donate, how are they able to do that?
Yes. Yeah. So you're able to donate right on the website. It'll give information about the walk, and then there's a donation button, and that brings you to the Michael J. Fox page. Awesome. And that will be live, I think, all the time. So, like I said, we're already up to 65,000. Our goal was 50, and we're just going to keep moving up. I told them our new goal should be 100 because we're not even at the walk yet. So.
Absolutely. What a great foundation you guys have started. What a great event and great cause. Like just this little interview here we've done. I've learned more in this 20-30 minutes than I knew about it all beforehand. So thank you for educating us. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you for being just such a positive, awesome person. So Jess, we appreciate you. We wish you all the best. And again, if you need anything, just reach out to us and we're here to help you.
Great. Well, thank you. And I appreciate the support with the walk and everything. So I appreciate being on the show. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be in touch, and good luck. And everybody, October 3rd, check it out. Try to get there if you can. If you can't, make a donation.
Thanks so much.